Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with a special video today. As you can see behind me, that is the Atlantic Ocean, and over there in the distance is one of the Canary Islands, La Gomera, which means that I'm currently on the island of Tenerife, and I am very impressed by what I have seen so far with this island. Now, for regular viewers of my videos, I have said over the journey that Madrid is not the place for me. I don't really want to spend the rest of my life in Madrid, and I have mentioned a couple of times that the Canaries would be a place that I would like to move to, and this is one of the reasons that I'm here, checking the Canaries out for their quality of life. And I must say, from what I have seen so far, I'm very, very impressed by the quality of life down here. Not only because of the weather, I mean, it's 10:30 in the morning, the sun is shining, it's around 24 degrees Celsius, I'm in a t-shirt, I've got shorts on as well, so the weather here is unbelievable, especially if you compare it to mainland Spain. But I'm going to talk about some of the pros and cons of moving to a place like this. Although I'm not an expert on the Canary Islands, from what I have been able to pick up over the last couple of days, it's only a short stay, but one thing I will say is that I will be back here in the future. And let's be honest, this is a fairly easy place to fall in love with, and I'm sure that lots of people have considered moving here after a holiday in this island or one of the other islands here in the Canaries. And one of the reasons I would say is because if you like outdoor living, if you like the sea, if you like water sports and things like that, this is an absolute paradise. In fact, one of my favorite songs growing up was a song by David Lee Roth, Just Like Living in Paradise, and I reckon this is as close as it gets. But anyway, the purpose of this video is to compare mainland Spain with the Canary Islands, what I have seen so far on my trip here, and of course the experience that I've had living on mainland Spain for the last 24-25 years. So I'm going to drive around the island, stop in various places, hopefully with views as spectacular as this one here, and talk about what I think would be some of the good things and bad things of moving to a place like Tenerife, because I'm definitely considering it. So let's go. And there's one thing that I definitely like about this island, the flora and fauna. We can see some of the fauna down there, a little lizard sitting on the rock. It's very well camouflaged. And if you have a look at the vegetation around here, absolutely spectacular. And basically everywhere you look on this island, it's green. Amazing. Now I'm just going to go and jump in the car because stop number one is the huge mountain that is bang smack in the middle of Tenerife, and everything falls off that mountain, heads down to the sea. So I'm going to go up as high as I can, and I imagine that the views up there are also spectacular. So let's go and check out the Teide. 3,700 meters, the highest mountain in Spain, believe it or not, on the island of Tenerife. And it's worth a visit to this part of the world just to see this mountain and its surroundings. Absolutely spectacular. Now, in order to talk about some of the differences between the Canary Islands and mainland Spain, I've turned to artificial intelligence again. I've gone to ChatGPT and asked it for some ideas, and this is what I have been told. The first thing they mention here is geographical location. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Climate, talk about that too. Culture, economy, language, and political status. Now, as we know, the Canary Islands is an autonomous community here in Spain. It's one of the 17 autonomous communities. That means that they have their own government, self-government if you like, but things are still controlled from the center of Spain, Madrid, which is the case with all of the autonomous communities in this country. And another interesting thing that ChatGPT told me was that the language is a little bit different. And I'm going to be honest, the accent here in the Canary Islands is different from the accent on mainland Spain. It's closer to an Andalusian accent, I would say. For example, they don't use the theta, they don't say cabeza or cerveza, they say cerveza here. And there's also a little bit of a South American feel to the accent as well. And some words are different too. The most obvious difference is the word autobús is not used here in the Canary Islands. They use a word guagua, which means bus, so autobús on mainland Spain and guagua here. So that's one of the differences. And another thing that I have picked up on is that people here speak very, very quickly and not easy to understand. And if you're not familiar with Spanish, it's going to be harder to learn the language here, I would say. But that's just my observation. Let me know what you think in the comment section below if you find the Spanish spoken here more difficult than on mainland Spain. But in general, they speak Castellano Spanish here. There might be a couple of local dialects, not sure about that, but on mainland Spain you can find different languages apart from Castellano Spanish, even though it is the majority language, of course. In Catalonia, Catalan, Galicia, Gallego, Basque Country, Basque, Valencia, Valencian, and of course in the Balearic Islands, Mallorquin. But here with Castellano Spanish, even though there is a slight variation, some different expressions, accents a little bit different, you can make yourself understood speaking Castellano, of course. Now, one of the other things this artificial intelligence told me is that the cost of living here is generally cheaper than on mainland Spain. And from what I've seen, it appears to be true, especially when it comes to food and drink, restaurants and things like that. The three of us have been eating for around 40 to 50 euros in restaurants with fantastic views. And I think in other parts of Spain with similar views, you'd be paying a lot more than that. So in general, when it comes to food and drink, I think it's a little bit cheaper here. But one thing that I noticed is when I went into a supermarket prices, at least in the area that I was staying, it is a tourist area, so that could influence the prices a little bit, seem to be generally higher for certain products. And I imagine that's because a lot of things have to be imported to the Canary Islands, whereas on mainland Spain they come down in trucks and so forth, so it's easier for a lot of products to get there, whereas here, of course, I imagine they come by ship. So that's a difference. But without a doubt, the biggest difference that I have noticed when it comes to prices is the price of fuel in the Canary Islands. I've seen unleaded 95 fuel for €1.20, even cheaper. I think I saw it once. It sort of varies between €1.20 and €1.28 depending on where you are in the islands. For example, going up to the top of the Teide mountain or going up as far as we could, the last gasoline station there was quite expensive compared to others. But I saw another one here where it was down to around 1.23. And in Madrid currently, for the same fuel, for the same litre of fuel, we're paying around €1.60. So a fair bit of a difference when it comes to fuel prices. So driving around here in the Canary Islands, a lot cheaper. I imagine it's cheaper here because wages are generally lower, I believe, in the Canary Islands. So the cost of living is going to be less. So that's a pro, I think, about living in an island paradise like this one. And look at the views that we get here every day. And these are typical views no matter where you go in this island. So unbelievable. Now, I'll just interrupt the video here to talk about the sponsor of today's video, NordVPN. And some of you might be asking yourself the question, what is a VPN? Well, it stands for Virtual Private Network. And if you like to travel like me, a VPN is fundamental. Why? Because basically it protects your data when you are online. And basically what that means is that it makes it more difficult for hackers to access that information. For example, passwords, bank account details, and things like that. And traveling, which as I said before is something that I like to do, when you're traveling, going to hotels, using different Wi-Fi's, coffee shops, hotel Wi-Fi, that is, a VPN is very, very important because it keeps all of that information safe. But that's not the only reason I use NordVPN. Another important thing that NordVPN can do is that you can access geo-block content. So for example, yesterday I wanted to watch the BBC iPlayer, so I connected to a British server and bang, away I went. I was able to watch the BBC, and you can watch Australian content, British content, US content with NordVPN. And you can also have NordVPN on up to 6 devices. So you can have it on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, 6 devices. It doesn't matter. You can use it simultaneously on those 6 devices. Now, and perhaps most importantly, Nord currently has a special offer. They have an exclusive deal with 4 months free on their 2-year plan. And plus, Nord is risk-free with their 30-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Click the link below or go to nordvpn.com/Spain Speaks and take advantage of this special offer. What are you waiting for? Click that link below and get the offer. Now back to the video. Now, obviously, one of the main differences between mainland Spain and the Canaries is the economy, and that was also pointed out in that ChatGPT information that I got. And here, as you can imagine, the main motor of this economy is tourism. And of course, as you can see from this fantastic weather, water behind me, boats over there. That is exactly why tourism here is so popular. But one thing that I have noticed in the short time that I have been here is that there's different levels of tourism in the Canaries. For example, in the north of the country, the tourism is not the same in the south, and that's also due to the weather. Tourism in the south, the Spanish have a word for the type of tourism here, and it is bestial. I went to a place yesterday called Playa de las Americas and also Los Cristianos today, and basically it's like Benidorm on steroids. In fact, I've never seen so many English people on holiday in my life. You would have thought you were in the UK basically. But of course, as we know, when it's freezing in the rest of Europe, here the sun is normally shining and the weather is usually good. In fact, it's good all year round, I believe. And in fact, if I were to come here again, or even come and live in this part of Spain, there is no way in the world I would live in the south of the island, because as I said, tourism everywhere, bestial. And another difference between the Canaries and mainland Spain is the amount of foreign residents here. I think I read that it's something like 22% of the population foreign residents, whereas on mainland Spain it's only around 10. So people flocking to this part of the country, obviously for the good weather. And I imagine that even more people are going to flock to the Canaries from now on, given the new digital nomad law that has recently been passed, because working in this part of Spain on the islands here in the Canaries would be absolutely fantastic. But again, in this part, perhaps not. Now, another huge difference between here and mainland Spain, at least from what I've been able to pick up on over the last couple of days, is the rhythm that people have here. A lot more relaxed. People don't seem to be as stressed. In fact, we went to a little bar the other day, and my girlfriend, being from Madrid, was a little bit stressed. She didn't get the service that she wanted, and the guy came out saying that here in the Canaries people do things at a different speed, and as I said, more relaxed, slower, and people seem to enjoy life down here. So that is definitely one of the differences between the islands and mainland Spain. In fact, in a lot of parts of mainland Spain, you can feel that stress. Now, when it comes to food here in the Canary Islands, or at least in Tenerife, the food that we have tried is not bad. I wouldn't say that it's the best. There are some typical dishes here in the Canaries, for example, the famous papas arrugadas or papas arrugas, also some fish dishes which are quite good, and they also seem to serve everything here with spicy sauces, what they call here the mojo picon, similar to the Portuguese word mollo, mojo, meaning sauce, I believe. And as I said, a lot of the dishes served with those spicy sauces. So tasty, but in general, the food not the best, but not the worst food that I have tried here in Spain. It's fresh and it's decent, I would say. There are plenty of fresh fruit and vegetables. Of course, the famous plátano canario grown here, very nice, not expensive either. Cheaper here, obviously, than on mainland Spain. And tomatoes also quite tasty in season, I think, at this time of the year. When it comes to drink, the Canaries have their own wines, reds, whites, rosés. They also have a couple of original grape varieties that are only grown here in the Canary Islands, I believe. A little bit more expensive here, the wine, than in mainland Spain. Don't know what the reason for that is. In fact, in supermarkets, I saw bottles around 7, 8, 9 euros per bottle, whereas in Spain you can get cheaper wines for that price of the same quality. But again, that's just my opinion. And of course, one of the main advantages of this island is that you can sit down at one of the many bars and restaurants here, have these fantastic views, and enjoy local cuisine. An absolute treat. Now, another one of the main differences between the Canaries and mainland Spain is getting around. Of course, here you are limited geographically to where you can go. Obviously, you have to fly everywhere. You can also catch a ferry if you want to, but of course, driving is limited. But the good news is that there are plenty of airports on Tenerife, at least. 2 airports, so easy to get on and off the island, in my opinion. Now, I'm on the other side of the island now, heading up to Santa Cruz, which is the capital. Not sure that I'm going to stop in Santa Cruz. But as you can see, I'm on one of the many beaches here in the Canary Islands. And one thing they do say is that the beaches here are very, very good. But I'm going to turn the camera around because it's amazing just how close the buildings are to the sea. It is absolutely amazing. I can't understand why people build so close to the coast. Spain does have a law in place now where you can't build this close to the coast, but obviously when this building was put up, that rule was not in place. And the water's almost coming up to my feet here now, and I'm only about 2 meters away from the building, so pretty bad urbanization. Now, another thing that the AI mentioned was that Tenerife is a very safe place, or the Canary Islands in general, when it comes to security, crime rates. Not sure about that because I haven't been here long enough, but from what I've seen, fairly similar to other places in Spain. But if you have had a problem with crime here in the Canaries, let me know. Or if it is a safe place, also let me know in the comment section below. Now, one of the cons of the Canary Islands, as listed by the artificial intelligence, was the infrastructure here. I imagine it's a problem on some of the smaller islands, but from what I've seen here on Tenerife, the infrastructure is very good. Motorways are good. In fact, the roads are in better condition than lots of parts of mainland Spain from what I have seen. So here in Tenerife, infrastructure pretty good. Now here we have one of the many monuments here in Tenerife. I think this is one of the most important monuments, una basilica, la Basilica de la Candelaria. And apparently La Candelaria is the patron saint of the Canary Islands. And here we've got a view of this magnificent square, which, as we can see, looks out over the Atlantic Ocean towards the island of Gran Canaria, which is straight in front of me there, I believe. And these, of course, are the Guanche kings before the islands were colonized by the Spanish back in the 15th century, I think, or around that time, not sure of the exact date. And apparently there are 9 of these kings up here on display so that locals can remember their past. And I imagine that life on these islands changed after the Spanish colonization back in the 16th or 15th century, but again, don't quote me on that date. Now, before I forget, one of the main attractions of the Canary Islands, obviously the weather. I think the weather varies from island to island and also from north to south. The north of Tenerife is apparently colder than the south. This morning we went to the south of Tenerife. We went to a place called Los Cristianos, and it was about 33 degrees Celsius. And currently where I am here, which is close to Santa Cruz de Tenerife, it's about 28, so about a 5-degree difference. So there is a variation between north and south, and if you go up to the top of the mountain, it's cooler up there also. And I imagine that's the same on Gran Canaria. So the weather is the #1 pro here. You get warm nights, good weather all year round, subtropical. We're off the African coast, and that is a reason why a lot of people want to live here permanently, or at least spend 3 or 4 months of the year and get away from those European winters. So my time in Tenerife is coming to an end. I'm going to wrap this video up. Basically some of the pros and cons of living on an island here, comparing it with mainland Spain, some of the differences that I have seen. There's no doubt some things that I have forgotten, that I can't remember everything. And of course I used artificial intelligence to help me with some of my ideas today. So thank you very much to ChatGPT. I'm going to turn the camera around so that we have the magnificent Atlantic Ocean in the background. And as I said a minute ago, the island of Gran Canaria there behind me, which is one of the many Canary Islands. I think 6, 7, maybe 8 Canary Islands, not sure. But Tenerife and Gran Canaria, the 2 biggest islands. So from what I've seen, this is an absolutely fantastic place to live if you are retired and if you can work remotely, of course. I wouldn't rely on the local job market unless you want to work in a hotel. There could be some English teaching jobs available in the capital, not sure, but the idea would be to come to a place like this as a remote worker or retired. And as I said, lots of people have already done that. They've come here, fallen in love with the island, which is very, very easy to do, fallen in love with the lifestyle here, fallen in love with the ocean, fallen in love with the Canarian culture, which is fantastic. The people are friendly. Can't say how friendly the people are here. Haven't had a problem. Everywhere you go, people are nice because they rely on tourists and tourism. And I suppose that when you came to live here, you would realize that as well, that people are friendly. So if you are living in the Canary Islands and you enjoy your life here, let us know some of the pros and some of the cons in the comment section below. I'm willing to find out because this is one of the destinations that I would like to think that in the future could be my home. And if it's not Tenerife, maybe the island over there, Gran Canaria. So let me know what you think, which is the better island. I'll open that up for debate. But anyway, the church bells are ringing, or the Basilica bells are ringing. Questions and comments please in the section below. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. And as I said, give us your opinions on this fantastic island of Tenerife. Hasta luego.